kitty photobomb. Kitty photobomb. Say hi, Mr. Brahma Cat. Hi, Mickey. Meow. Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And before we get into the usual disclaimers, this is something that got brought up on my TL that didn't make me cringe, that I wanted to discuss a little bit. So I'm going to get that pulled up for you here. We'll get into what's going on with Oliver in the weekend, hopefully. What's a day off, folks? Do you know what that's like? Please tell me. I have to live vicarious through you all. All right. First, we're going to read through it. And then I'm going to give you some context to it. It says, I live in a house or a flat. You live in a scheme or a setting. I go to the shop or walk in the park. You go out into the community. I get irritated and a bit shouty. You display challenging behavior. I change my mind and decide not to go out. You are non-compliant. I choose to eat too much chocolate and pizza. You make unwise decisions. I am a person. You are a service user. I go to the gym. You participate in meaningful activities. The language we use matters, and examples like these reinforce the othering of people. I'm tired of learning disabilities because everybody uses it to make us a joke. Trying to watch my language, folks. Trying to watch my language here. Trying. The knock-on effect is that we see people with disabilities as different or somehow less than. I am human. You are human. Now, you may ask me, why am I bringing this up? I'm glad you asked. And how's it relevant to the JRC? Again, I'm glad you asked. If you are a person with an official diagnosis who receives services, this language is going to be extremely familiar to you. When you get that official diagnosis and you go into the service system, everything about you changes. Your entire life gets put under a microscope, which means even the things that we do every day, your normal things that regular neurotypicals do, they're put under a microscope in a way that neurotypicals are not. For example, a neurotypical gets upset, gets heated, and shouts during an argument. Nobody panics. It's not going to be going on some permanent record that somebody along the line is going to be able to use against them later. Now let's change the scenario. And I'm going to make this personal here. Let's put me in that same situation. I'm in an argument. I get a bit heated. Let's face it. I'm prone to it, right? Well, that shit, as a person who's been through the service system, let me explain it here. That shit goes on my permanent record, which follows me around from provider to provider for provider. So instead of me just having a bit heated moment, I am then written as having challenging behaviors for the rest of my life. I can then have that used as a weapon against me. Because if I oppose such things to where I have to get help for my behaviors, in which case I was acting like any normal human being has known to do, then they will go ahead and say, well, they're being non-compliant. If these words sound familiar to you because of these videos, it's because they should. This is the terminology that the JRC uses. In fact, these are the very words that they use to excuse and argue for their insane so-called treatment of disabled people. Now, they may be one of the most extreme examples out there, but they are by far not alone. The entire medical community, even the best meaning providers out there in the world trying to be as forward as possible, still use this. It still goes under a microscope. If we have a single moment of human weakness, it is seen as something that must immediately be trained out of us instead of just realizing what happened had nothing to do with my disability and everything with just having a human moment. When I say that we're not allowed to be human unless we hit these so-called milestones in their fake idea of normalcy, that we have to be, as I say, to quote Rob Zombie, more human than human. You see where I'm going with this, right? This is the microscope. In particular, people with developmental disabilities are under every single day of our lives. Do I like being a shut-in? Do I enjoy that the only times I really go out is either in a large group of my friends who are like-minded or like my mother, and otherwise I feel a deep need to stay inside my apartment? No, I don't like being a recluse. It goes against my nature. I like being outside. However, being a very well-known autistic, neurodiverse, and disability rights advocate for over a decade means I'm getting scrutinized by people every second of my day. You see what I'm saying, folks? If I were still in the service system right now, when I would curse on my YouTube channel, for example, while getting angry while reading the insanity that is Dr. Matthews Israel's psychobabble, they would put that as a challenging behavior and then would feel the need to train that kind of undesirable behavior out of me. Whereas if a neurotypical did it, you see where I'm going with this, right? The point the post was trying to make is that language matters, but it's more than just language, folks. It's perception. How people with disabilities are looked at by other people, which is largely fueled by Hollywood, by the medical model, and by big social media giants like Autism Speaks. And they have controlled the narrative for over 30 years. Ever since I was a kid, that's for sure. They created the language that is used to oppress us now. Allow me to say that again and let it sink into your heads. They, all together, created the language that is oppressing us now. See, I should be able to get angry and have a moment without having it being scrutinized as anything else other than me having a human moment. I should be able to be out in public without having to put on the mask and pretend to be, as you know, you've heard me call it, becoming the doll. Or otherwise, having every single inch of everything that I'm doing scrutinized within an inch of its life. It's beyond unfair, folks. It's in a massive double standard. It doesn't allow us to be human, to have those moments, to just be able to go out there and live our lives without every little thing that we do being scrutinized and then used against us about being behaviors that have to be trained out of us. It's insane, folks. It's insane, the tremendous amount of pressure and stress and insanity that society, through the medical model, puts on us. And it gets put on us from day one. Day one. It's not right. There are legitimate things with my diagnosis as an autistic that I do need to work on. Yes, this is true. This is true of all of us. However, to the point that you all want us to somehow represent this fantasized idea of normal that you do not impose on our neurotypical peers is bonkers, okay? It's not fledged in reality. We have the right to be human, to express anger, to be able to make the bad decision of going out to the movies and having a popcorn dinner, to be able to eat too much pizza, go out there and drink too much, do stupid things like our neurotypical peers have done without the scrutiny and without everyone all of a sudden rearranging our whole entire lives and our regular daily routines to train out of us a behavior we displayed once that wasn't even really a behavior, but it's just being human. We are not out there playing victim, folks. We're not looking for this stuff. It's already here. It's been around for years. Quit judging every single thing that we do within the context of our diagnosis, because it's dehumanizing as hell. On one end, yes, autism, me being autistic, very much makes up the entirety of me. It's how I see things, how I think, how I speak, how I act, how I am as actually Tiffany and not the doll. This is true. But I'm also a human being who is entitled to have human moments without afterwards having them scrutinized within an inch of their life and then being used as a weapon against me. All right. Now let's move on. I'm actually glad I managed to not go nuts there. All right. To the disclaimers, right? In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We also have included in their Ozark's first article regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has impending over 21, long morning, civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. And that includes the following, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises, and with full access to the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You've got an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens than to do his job and actually prosecute the pedophiles that have been proven to be pedophiles. And you got a governor, I don't know what his problem is, but send help. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Musamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, and the ever-present and self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Sitter Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, folks, please use your headphones. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion. We do talk on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision, all right? All right, now, trigger warning, folks. We are about to descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience, lies, enough ableism and bigotry to go around, folks. And all coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So you know what we say on here, right? Prepare yourself for the stupid. All right. So we've already gone into this and how he's full of crap. So let's go into this smaller one here. We'll try to make this one relatively short since we had the rant in the beginning there. Hair looks cockeyed. Sorry, folks. I'm in a mood today. One of those weird, neurodiverse brain fog days. Please excuse me. One mother reported to the MDRI that her child was held in restraints for 2 years. This is another anonymous, unsupported, false allegation. For accurate information of the JRC's use of restraint, see the response item 2 above in this section. I won't, doctor. I absolutely will not. Because I know they're not lying. They may be anonymous. Because, we actually protect people in this community instead of offering them up on a silver platter to their abusers and torturers. But I don't doubt it for a second, doctor. And you want to know why that is? Your own surveillance tapes. We know from your own words that there are particular students that you force into restraints that make the movie Silence of the Lamb seem absolutely tolerant in form of restraints. We know for a fact that you will basically gag, strap in arms, legs, mouths to the point that those kids can't move, so they won't jump out of the van and run away from your psycho asses. So tell me, If an individual is going through this treatment twice a day for 2 years, do you know what that means, doctor? I'll go you one better. When you watch that Andre McCollins video when he's literally sitting there doing nothing, and he refuses to remove his coat, this is what I'm talking about, what that non-compliance means to the medical model. Pay attention, kids, there's a reason. You shocked him for 7 hours, in restraints, face down, all fours bounded with a helmet on his head, where he could have easily died of asphyxiation, and you kept him there for 7 hours. You have a history of improper restraints. Matter of fact, one of the reasons why you are banned from the state of California is because one of the individuals that you bound in such a way ended up dying of asphyxiation later. So, considering your history, considering what I've seen in the DESI reports and your own surveillance footage, even if I came at this as a newbie and this was fresh, brand new information for me, that is enough circumstantial evidence, especially considering basically the entirety of your psychosphere that you call treatment. I'm going to believe the anonymous person. Because you're known for it, doctor. Because you're banned literally from the state of California. You and your whole school philosophy. Because exactly that. So if one of those kids who managed to survive your hellhole were to tell me in confidence, like they did with the MDRI, that this happened, considering your history, I am probably going to believe them because there is enough evidence from other cases to back it up. You can't just sit there, but it's not true, it isn't, like a fucking toddler. Sorry, I did tell you it will come out of my mouth once in a while. Like a fucking toddler. Okay? Just because you say it isn't true doesn't mean it isn't true, doctor. I don't know where this world got off to that somehow whatever you decide that you want the world to be, what you make up in your head is now the truth regardless of evidence. I don't know where the hell that came from, but everybody needs to get back to reality here. We don't get to make up our own reality. It's not how any of this works. You restrain the students mechanically through the GED, physically through your 4-point boards, your chair, the way you make them ride to school and come back from the school. When you're shocking them on the 4-point board, you restrain them, doctor, repeatedly, over and over and over again. Matter of fact, the testimony that you had us read that was so in favor of the JRC spoke on the very fact that you kept him in restraints on and off for 2 years. Do y'all ever read your own words? Kind of reminds me of certain AH stands who don't actually read their crap before they send it out. The point is, and I know this is a relatively short one here that I'm making, you don't get to make history, which is well documented, I might add, up as you go. There is no such thing as your truth. There is the truth and the receipts that back it up. You have a history of improper restraints. Your students have died because of it. And now you want to sit there and tell me, but that's just not true? Sit down, doctor. Because history is not multiple choice. You don't get to pick and choose. Your school has a history of improper restraints, and students for which you use those restraints over and over and over again. And no matter what you want to tell yourselves, as a person, again, who's literally been around these medical circles, having my mom work where she worked, and grown up the way that I have, your GED machine is not freeing anyone from restraint. It is in and of itself a restraint by design. I'm not going to be able to get up and walk by myself when there's electricity shooting through one of the muscles in my leg, doctor. It seizes the leg. It restricts movement except for involuntary ones. You know, the ones you punish us for too. That's my point. You have a history of improper restraint. You have a history for keeping students in one form of restraint or another for years on end. This isn't new. It is not a misrepresentation of what you do. For the love of God, doctor, it is literally in your own treatment notes. We're going to go ahead and close on that one. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I will see y'all next vid.